Caleb Love was ranked as the second best point guard and the 7th best overall recruit in the entire country only a few years ago. In his senior season, he averaged a whopping 26 points per game and 5 rebounds. As a point guard, that's not too bad. He was insanely talented and gifted. He could shoot the ball, he could run the offense, and do a little bit of everything. You also gotta throw in there, he has outstanding size. He's roughly 6'4" and 195 pounds. Everything was lining up and it was pointing towards he was gonna be a one and done at North Carolina and go to the NBA and more than likely be a lottery pick. All that hype and buzz around his name and his draft stock, it quickly, and I mean quickly, disappeared. He went from being a for sure first rounder to a guy that wasn't on any of the mock drafts. His play on the court was so bad at times, you just couldn't help but wonder what's wrong with him. I wouldn't say he lost his confidence, it was more of he just didn't look like that 5-star recruit we saw in high school. His numbers at the college level continue to be atrocious and his play on the court isn't too much better. If you don't want to take my word for it, how about you take it from North Carolina fans themselves? Here's what some of them had to say. These are just a couple of the tweets. I could find thousands. This person said, "I don't think I've disliked a UNC player more than Caleb Love, I gotta say it." Todd Martin said, "I am sorry if this offends people, but Caleb Love is not a good basketball player." It's one thing to say a guy hasn't lived up to the expectations. It's a completely different thing to say he's not even good. I mean, you gotta think about it. We're talking about a former 5-star recruit and the number 7th ranked overall player in the entire country. And I gotta throw this in there as well. People are liking these tweets, so it's not like this is one random person hating on him. Obviously, people agree. North Carolina fans don't really know how to feel about him. Is he good? Is he bad? Or is he just another mediocre player? I would say for the most part, this entire situation has somewhat went under the radar, but I'm gonna bring it to light because it intrigues me. In this video, we're gonna dive deep into detail to try and see and find out what really happened to Caleb Love. What's good, y'all? Hope you're having a blessed day. Real quick and short, if you want to see more basketball videos, sub to the channel, leave a like, do all nice stuff, and now without further ado, let's get into it. Caleb Love, this one is definitely fascinating because I remember it like it was yesterday. When he was coming out of high school, I was hearing rumors about him going in the lottery and first round after one season. That's not the fascinating part. Where it gets interesting is only a couple weeks after his college games, nobody was even talking about that, and the real conversation was, is he even good enough to start at point guard for North Carolina? To find out what happened, let's go back to his high school days so we can somewhat get a perspective of how good he really was. In his junior year of high school, he put up ridiculous numbers. He averaged 19 points a game and 4 rebounds. You may not think it's too crazy, but you gotta understand, this is a point guard. Most point guards aren't averaging nearly 20 points a game. After that season, his scoring ability really was put on to show. He was averaging 26 points per game and 6.5 rebounds. He was racking up awards left and right. He was Gatorade Player of the Year in Missouri and also a McDonald's All-American. You can win a lot of awards out there, but I would say the most prestigious one, at least for basketball players, is the McDonald's All-American. It's just something about it, it's so iconic, and I think it's the best one out there. The best part about his game, at least in the high school level, was you could really see the improvement in his overall game every single year. From his freshman year to senior year, he was getting almost 2 times better than the year before. And whenever you're looking for a great prospect and a great player, that's what you pay attention to. I'm not saying if you average 20 points your junior year and 21 points your senior year, it's a bad thing, but it's kind of telling, these recruiters that, okay, maybe he's already peaked. The good thing about Caleb is that it appeared he wasn't even close to his potential, at least that's what they thought. When it was all said and done for his recruitment process, he was flying up the boards. He got all the way up to number 7 in the rankings and the number 2 overall point guard. As we all know, I've already talked about it multiple times in this video, he decided to go to North Carolina and it seemed like a great fit. 5-star recruit, North Carolina. Everyone would agree it's the perfect fit. It's kind of like Alabama in football. 5 stars in Alabama, they mix well together. When I tell you there was so much buzz surrounding this man, I don't even know if that does it justice. I don't really buy into, oh, the reason this player failed or they didn't do good is because there was too much pressure and expectations. I haven't bought into that and I probably never will. Good athletes know this. Pressure, it's not really a bad thing, and if anything, it's a good thing because that means people are counting on you, and as an athlete, that's what you should want. If you're not feeling pressure, then that means it's not really that important to you. I'll take it a step even farther. I don't really think the Carolina fan base was putting all that much pressure on him. They was just wanting him to do good. It's not like they were expecting him to drop 30 points a night. Unfortunately for Caleb, his first couple of games of college, they didn't go so well. Well, now that I look at it for the first time, I knew his numbers were bad, but I didn't know they were this bad. Let's just take a look at his first 5 games of college basketball. He was 4 for 11, 2 for 9, 6 for 18, 2 for 13, and 4 for 13. You don't gotta be a basketball engineer or rocket scientist to figure out those are terrible numbers. I've said it before on this channel, I'm gonna say it again. I don't want you to get too compelled by the numbers and pay attention to them too much. It's more of Caleb Love just simply wasn't playing good basketball. I think a great comparison is Steph Curry this year. As some of you have paid attention to it, he's been in a slump for about a month or two, but his plus minus is through the roof. He's a great example, and it goes to show basketball just isn't solely based off of field goal percentage. There's other ways you can contribute. The thing with Caleb Love, and we talked about it with Imani Bates a few days ago, is that whenever they're not hitting shots, they're really not effective. It'd be a different conversation in these games where he goes 2 for 13 if he also had 10 or maybe 8 assists, but he's only averaging like 3 to 4 assists a game. Anyways, let's get a move on. As his freshman year continued to go on, many people was like, oh, maybe it's just a slump, and in reality, the cold hard truth, it wasn't a slump, he was just bad. I'm going to read you off his numbers for the next 11 games, and yeah, you can do what you want with this information. After that 5-game slump, he was 4 for 14, 3 for 14, 3 for 10, 2 for 7, 1 for 9, 2 for 10, 4 for 10, 7 for 12, that's a good one, 6 for 15, 3 for 10, and 2 for 10. Do you not see the remedy of that pattern? There was only one game where he shot over 50%. Most of these games, he's nowhere close to 50%, and he's borderline 20 or 30. Once again, it's key to mention, it'd be different if he was averaging a lot of assists, but here's the thing. Yeah, he'd have 3 or 4 assists a game, but he'd also have 3 to 4 turnovers, so they offset. I do want to throw in there his best game without a doubt in my mind. After that 11-game stretch against Duke in a close win, he was 9 for 16, and he played the best basketball maybe of his career. He hit 4 threes in that game, he had 25 points and 7 assists, he was just a flat-out baller, and that's what we saw in high school and what we expected to see all throughout the season. And many people out there, including myself, was thinking, okay, maybe this is the turning point in his career, but it wasn't. After that Duke game, having a great performance, and the next 3 games, he was 2 for 9, 2 for 8, and 4 for 8, and in the 4th one, he was 0 for 6 against Marquette. I'm not even a North Carolina fan, and his play last year, it frustrated me to the max. I don't understand how you can have the game of your life against Duke and go out there in the next 3 to 4 games and just play awful. And after that Marquette game, he went 3 for 13, 3 for 10, and 6 for 12 against Duke. I guess I'll throw this in there too since we talked about the entire season. The last 4 games in the postseason, he was 6 for 14, 2 for 12, 4 for 14, and 4 for 13. To say this man struggled in his freshman year would be an understatement. He was flat out pitiful and flat out terrible. I don't care what you say. If you're trying to defend him his freshman season, you're just out of your mind. For that entire 2020 through 2021 season, he had an overall field goal percentage of 31.6. Not his 3-point percentage, his overall field goal percentage was 31. I'm not even going to look it up, but I can guarantee you that had to be one of the worst in the entire nation. His 3-point percentage was also beyond awful. It was 26.6%. Like I was touching on, he did finish averaging 3.6 assists per game, but he also averaged 3.1 turnovers, so it offset. Caleb would do something good, have an assist, but then he'd counter it with something bad with a turnover. His play was so bad, he was immediately taken off all mock drafts, and NBA scouts, they didn't even question or think about drafting him because there was no reason to. Whenever you see a guy do this night in and night out, who in their right mind would want him on their NBA team? But however, as putrid as that freshman season was, there was some good news for Caleb Love. He still had 3 years left to prove himself. In this most recent year, it's been better, but here's the thing with that. Of course it's been better. He couldn't have played any worse. I don't think some of you quite understand how bad shooting 30% from the field is. I want to clarify, we are now in the time frame of this current season, and that's what we're about to talk about. I'm not going to talk about the first month because I don't want to bore you with that. Let's start off with December, and let's speak on this 4-game stretch. In this 4-game stretch I'm about to talk about, North Carolina won all these games, and Caleb Love was 9 for 16, 11. That's good. 7 for 18. You take that. The next one, he was 7 for 14. And last but not least, he was 3 for 10. So you see that, and you can definitely tell, no questions asked, he has improved from his freshman season, and his numbers were getting slightly better. I do gotta throw in there, and it is a key factor that in those 4 games, they weren't playing really good teams, but hey, he played good, so I don't want to take that away from him. But once they started getting into conference play, this is where things have taken a turn for the worst, and we're starting to see that 2020 Caleb Love his freshman year. And for those people out there that think I'm cherry picking these stats, I'm not. I'm literally talking about every single game. Here's the thing with me, if you're playing bad, I'm going to tell you you're playing bad. But if you're playing good, I'm going to give credit where it's due. In his first 3 games of conference play against Boston College, Notre Dame, and Virginia, he was 7 for 11, 6 for 12, and 6 for 13. And he was playing good. Not great, but good. Yeah, he was having some turnovers here and there, but his scoring ability was definitely making up for it. I don't know what happened, but after that 3-game stretch, he hasn't been the same. Against Miami, he was a beyond awful 2 for 12. Against Wake Forest, he was 3 for 15. I don't even know how you shoot that bad. And the next one against Virginia Tech, he was 5 for 14. Against Boston College, he was 5 for 17. North Carolina State, 6 for 16. Louisville, 3 for 18. Duke, 3 for 10. And we got to talk about that one. I want you guys to pay attention to these numbers. These are in back-to-back games. As a former athlete, I've been there. It's one thing to have 1, maybe 2 bad games back-to-back. 3 is pushing it. But whenever you have 5 to 6 to 7 games back-to-back, it's not a bad game. That's just how you play. I'm sorry, Caleb Love, I gotta tell you the truth, and you're just not really that good of a basketball player. You're a mediocre college basketball player right now. Am I saying he can't get better? No, and that's the good thing about it, because he has a lot of room to improve. But from what I've seen, and I'm not a North Carolina fan, it is hard to watch, and I'm sitting there watching my TV going, man, you gotta take this dude out of the game. One thing I love about him is he doesn't lose his confidence. As you can see, he doesn't care to shoot 18 shots and only make 3 of them, but here's the thing, you gotta know when to stop. His best part about his game is that he's confident in his abilities. His worst part is that maybe he's too confident. In this Duke game, this is when North Carolina fans, they had enough, and I remember he was trending all over Twitter. You had North Carolina fans saying stuff like, Caleb Love continues to be ungood tonight. Might do some good to let him have a little break. Another one right here, and listen to these numbers. These are real. These aren't a troll or anything. At halftime against Duke, he had 0 points, was 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 3 on threes, 3 turnovers, and 2 fouls. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand and realize this was a former top 10 player in the country and 5-star recruit. I don't care if you're a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, no star. It doesn't matter. Those numbers right there you see on your screen, there's no excuse for it. But what makes it all even more frustrating, in the following game, he was 4 for 12 against Clemson in a game they won, and in the Florida State game, he played really solid, and he was 6 for 8 on threes. I also believe in the first half, correct me if I'm wrong, he was 5 for 6 on threes. I was watching it live, I just can't remember off the top of my head. In that Florida State game, you saw how good Caleb Love can be. The problem is he only has 1 game like that out of every 10 or 15. I was waiting and holding off on this video because I was trying to convince myself he's just going through a slump, but we've seen it in back-to-back years, so technically it's not a slump. Unless he starts doing better or does something next year, I've already come to the terms with he's just not a good basketball player. That may rub some of you the wrong way, but it's the cold hard truth. Yeah, I get it. You see his stats, he's averaging 14.9 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, but you're shooting a miserable 38% from the field. Anybody can average 15 points per game when you're shooting 15 shots per game. This man's simply not that good, and it's a great scenario and example that every 5 and 4-star recruit, they're just too overhyped. He's only a sophomore, so he does have 2 years left to prove the doubters and haters wrong, but it's not even doubting or hating him, it's just the truth. I'm going to end the video off abruptly right here. That's everything I had to touch on. Not too much more to say. Let me know your thoughts down below, but with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what you doing? Join the family, hit the subscribe button, leave a like for more, and as always, let's program my peace.